Ads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Freemo.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day I'm not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now the group that can't count it to nuts and come up with the same number twice.
Welcome to BGFG, episode 343. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and Freemo, unfortunately, is not joining me again because he is, he's lounging at home. It's a hurricane. There's a hurricane on the East Coast, and that's what he's dealing with, so couldn't really get that going today. But, hopefully in the very near future we can do that. I think that'd be pretty cool. So, first thing everybody usually asks in the chat room and stuff, today is the Admiral shirt. And for the video, the people that are watching the video on YouTube, I'm sorry about the way the camera looks today. The Elgato face cam died. It was about a week old, and it's not working right. So I got an RMA, another one's on its way. So I'm using the Logitech C920 for now, and I can tell you that it's like night and day with the picture quality. I mean, the Logitech still works, but this is legitimately like night and day. So there's a good amount of news to get through, and there's a lot of, as we always do on BGFG, is we try to take away the fear, uncertainty, and doubt of certain things. We try to dig a little deeper, try to give you some stuff to talk about at the water cooler or with your coworkers or things like that. And you're listening, hopefully, on your way to work. So we got a good show lined up today, and let's just get into it, because there's kind of a lot to cover.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first up in the news this week, we have to talk about Apple again. So we did this last week, but I got a few emails at bgfgshow@gmail.com with some that were really upset or confused about the whole situation. So let's see if we can make it a little bit clearer for everybody. So again, it's hard to be an Apple fan sometimes because they don't always do things that are smart. They try. I mean, they're really trying. So Apple's trying to fight child sex abuse cases, literally. Some people say it's a strategy that can hurt their iPhone and hurt their iPhone sales, but I don't see that. So there's three things that they're kind of doing. The searches for child porn related material will redirect you to a mental health site on your phone. And then the Messages app also has a parental control feature. Now, again, all of this stuff is opt-in. So you have to opt into it, and you have to be on a family plan like we discussed last week. Searches, sorry about that background noise. It's, of course, steamy with a storm coming, and the air conditioners are kicking on. So if you do a search on your phone for any sort of child pornography, it automatically redirects you to a mental health site, which you should be doing anyway. And as for the messages or messenger, messages are going to be parental controlled on a underage kid. This isn't for everybody. And again, it's opt-in, people. It's not like your phone's going to automatically do it. Oh, well, they can. Well, yeah, every carrier can. Every manufacturer can. It's just the way shit works. So this will scan incoming and outgoing messages. Again, looking for it's basically a nude filter. And it decides whether it's a child or an adult. It scans iCloud photos, so the photos that you've uploaded to iCloud, it scans those for sexually abusive material. Pictures in iCloud will be scanned for presence of child porn, and then the account will be disabled. But don't forget, even after all these scans, the evidence must be handed over to a human for interpretation. So don't worry, if you're shooting nudes on your phone for your friends or whatever the hell you do, that stuff they don't care about. I mean, is somebody going to see it? Possibly. But again, as we've said on the show before, when you write something, you post something, or you post a picture of something, it's on the internet forever. Go ahead, try to get it off. It's not going to happen. There's ways that some people erase themselves from the internet and shit like that. It's years of work. It's not going to happen really quick for you. It's not. If you put a dick pic out there, guess what? It's probably going to get somewhere else at some point. So don't be surprised. The type of scanning that's been... This type of scanning has been going on for a very long time. Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, they all scan for child porn using a Microsoft program called PhotoDNA. Now, nobody said shit about it. Everybody's been fine. And as we pointed out last week, it always seems to be Apple, and somebody's pointing out Apple as to being the ones that are to blame. Why? Most likely because they have the absolute most market share in there, so they're getting pinched and they're getting scrutinized for trying to do something right. Now, like we talked about and exposed when the government was saying that that Apple would give up information, we found out, if you listen to this show, you found out that was a complete lie. That they want a backdoor into everybody's phones, and Apple's not going to allow that to happen. Apple did give them all the information they needed for the shooter in Florida. Every bit of information, multiple accounts, old phone numbers, old previous iCloud accounts. They gave it all. So they're willing to do these sort of things in the name of privacy. Now, I don't know what people's issues are with this. Apple's, let's put it this way, Apple's so secure that even at one point their fraud chief, Eric Friedman, stated that because they keep everything so private, it's easy to use the platform for distribution of child porn because, again, they weren't checking for that before. So if you were posting pictures, you had pictures somewhere, because the system's so closed, no outside entity could get in to find out that you were doing child porn. So in these, the epic battle that's going on with Apple, in one of the papers, they found out that there was conversations about the child porn issues, and the system op, the sysop for it, said flat out, they're like, there's nothing we can do about it unless we take precautions because our system's so secure. And that was a big eye opener for a lot of people. And on the other side, there's people that are worried about the system getting into the wrong hands. So I don't disagree. If you have another government somewhere else that mandates that Apple scan for different types of photos, I don't know. I'm going to say something like, Middle East or Russia or anybody else that has the ability. Now, this goes into a whole nother group of issues that people aren't realizing. Apple, just like any other manufacturer, except Apple, again, is always under the microscope. Any other manufacturer has to deal with the laws of the land. So when they go into China, there's certain things that aren't allowed in China. You might have remembered a few months back, we talked on the show about how Russia was going to mandate that when they get iPhones in there, they want to, or Apple wants to officially, sell iPhones there, but then the Russian government was like, well, yeah, but you have to give us access to put these certain apps on the phone. And I believe China did the same thing. So there's different laws in different lands, and Apple's trying to they're basically trying to appease everybody. They're trying to do what they need to do for people, but at the same time keep people safe. And I think it's funny that everybody argues over this shit all the time. So there's 3 different tiers of this, and they're all designed to keep you safe. And, you get the people that turn around and say, well, now Apple's got access to my phone. Okay, do they? And are they going to do that? You got to trust Apple a little bit because they're not giving out information to government unless there's a mandate or a law or a subpoena or anything else like that. And then they take care of it, break out the information from the phone system, and then give it to the attorneys or whatever they need to do. So I don't understand. It boggles my mind as to why everybody's getting so upset. What are you hiding? We talked before about the idea that locks keep honest people out. It's the same thing. If you have something to hide, what are you worried about? Look, if you're not doing well with your significant other and you're having an affair or you're doing whatever, you're exchanging texts or something, hey, dude, that's on you. You have to deal with that. And again, my wife and I have an open policy where our phones and our devices, we pick up each other's all the time. We don't really think about it too much because there's nothing to hide. So if you don't have anything to hide, there's really nothing that's going to bother you, and just be clear that they're just making sure there's no child porn. But even if you're like, well, that shit never happens to me, I don't have to worry about that. Well, great. I'm glad you don't have to worry about that. But what about the person? What about your niece or nephew? Forget about your kids. What about your niece or nephew that somebody took a picture of at the park? My little cousin Gorgeous little girl. She's like, what the hell is she now? 7 or 8 years old. Beautiful brown hair, dark skin, baby blue eyes. You know, there might be some pedophile piece of shit at some park that we go to when we take all the kids out that might be looking at her kind of funky. Well, you know what? If that person takes a fucking picture of my little niece and they turn around and post something lewd on it or gross or anything like that, I'm hoping that there's somebody out there that's going to stop that from happening. You know, it's the same thing with my own kids. If somebody took a picture of my daughter when I took her to the water park and then posted it around, I'd be pissed. But now you don't have to really worry about that because those people are going to get in trouble. Those people are going to get caught. It's going to work. You just have to trust the system and let it work. We posted a video in the show notes. If you go to bgfgonline.com, you'll be able to see the video of Craig Federighi. I never say his name right. There's a video of Apple explaining all of this. And we haven't even talked about what else Apple's trying to do, which again, I should have renamed this show just clickbait, because the other thing that people are talking about is the concerns that people have about what Apple's doing with cameras in the homes. So the blanket statement that came out, which I thought was absolutely hysterical, was that Apple's making everybody that works at home to put cameras up in their home for surveillance. And I immediately kind of chuckled when I saw it and I started reading into it. But no, again, as we know, the sheeple never, ever, ever read into anything. They literally go on Facebook, they look at the clickbait, and they make their decision from there, and then just ad-lib as they see fit. Don't even have any of the information. So, excuse me. So the camera issue that you're hearing about with Apple is essentially work from home. So call center people, let's put it, that's the easiest way to say it. Call center people. Now, if you're working at home, you have to do timesheets, you have to sign in. I know for some companies, you have to have a landline phone in your home, and that's where you had to kind of work from. You had to log in and log out. It's the same thing with the website. Now, there's no way that you can be sure. As a former business owner and as somebody that's been in management, I want to know if I'm sending a guy home and he's going to do trouble calls on his laptop at his home over the phone. If I'm paying him for 8 hours, I'm expecting him to work for 8 hours. It's just that simple. And if you're an employee that's going, well, they don't need to know anything, and I can get up and I can do whatever the hell I want. Well, that's good. But eventually you're probably going to get caught, and that's not going to be good because you're going to end up losing your job. And I can't feel bad for you at that point. So with all the craze working at home, Apple customers, Apple service call people pretty much work at home. And they're not all in this country. There's a lot that are overseas, as we've talked about before. And they want to stay that way. So they've even gone as far as drafting a letter to Apple saying that they do not want to return to the office and they can do their jobs from home just fine. And Apple's kind of like, okay. And again, nobody reads into that. They just hear about the surface stuff. But when you read into it, Apple does really like to control all the aspects of everything they do from end to end, whether it's selling a product, troubleshooting a product, repairing a product. Trust me, I know. It is 5 times harder to service an Apple product than it is to service any other product. Just because of Apple's constraints, the way they want you to do things. Now Apple wants to install cameras into remote workers' homes. So here's the bullshit part. It's not even about direct Apple workers. These are third-party people in third-party call centers all around the world. Apple wants to make sure that they're actually working for the time that they're billing for. It's a lot easier to do that when you're here in this country and you're using a phone system or something like that. It's a lot more difficult when you're overseas. This is actually normal for business. You want to make sure that what you're doing is fine. But it's one of those situations where it's a camera that's going to be, it's not watching your kids or family. I mean, yeah, you have to sign off a waiver in case your kids pop on the screen, but it's basically watching to make sure you're typing, to make sure that you're not stealing information, which is one of the more important pieces. Again, Apple trying to do the right thing, and it gets misconstrued every time. You know, it's damn hard to stop breaches in security as it is. But when you have a third-party call center that's getting access to your customers, your clientele's username and password for pretty much everything, that's a lot of cases of possible fraud. It can happen. You know, if Billy Bob in the Middle East somewhere is in a phone call center. I mean, perfectly harmless, but they're writing down the username and password so they can remember it and then type it in after or whatever. You know, what's to say that somebody that visits their house after they're done working and they just happen to have their notebook there or whatever, looks at that and goes, oh, look at Apple ID and password. Or one of their kids' friends comes over, sees the notebook and steals the notebook. You know, and you have all these. There's no way to stop this. They're not even in this country. So Apple has to take precautions to do that and put up cameras so that during the work hours, and I'm sure that they're not going to keep them on 24/7 and monitor you all the time. They're going to monitor your work, your desk, your desk space. They even have a rule, apparently, from one of those sources that I read. They have a rule that they have to keep a clean workspace, which I think is also funny. But listen, people, you can't have it both ways. You can't. I know how much you want to, but you can't have it both ways. You can't have full open access and then ask for privacy. And you can't get privacy and then want full open access. It doesn't work both ways. You have to have some sort of thing. I explain this to people on a daily basis, that if you set up a new account with whatever, Microsoft, Apple, Samsung, Gmail, it doesn't matter. Your default address or your two-factor should not be the same phone number that you're calling from. It should not be the same email address that you have on the device. It needs to be something secondary. And, you know, and when people come to me and complain that they can't get access to their account, and then they're like, well, I don't know the password. Okay, what's the two-factor on this? I don't know. Oh, what's this phone number? Oh, the one I have in my hand. But you can't get into your damn phone. So how the hell is that going to help you? You know, look what happened. Look, security is always going to be a question, and security is one of those things that are coming up massively right now, all across the globe. It's not even a joke anymore. Look what just happened to T-Mobile, and with everything going on in the world right now, you don't even see this on the news, which I think is really funny because it's really friggin' bad. T-Mobile just confirmed that they had a 7.3 million customer breach. Yeah, just soak that in for a minute. Yeah. That is 7.3 million customers were breached. And they got everything. I mean, they literally got anything that's important, which I'm really disgusted about. My theory right now, before I even start telling you what's going on, the theory right now is I think that it had to do with a lot of the Sprint stuff. From what I remember when I was in the cell phone industry, one of the big problems was that Sprint wasn't always super secure. Once the Nextel transition kind of happened, everything kind of got wishy-washy, and it wasn't the most secure network. We used to get hacks and breaches and stuff like that all the time on their devices. So back to this with T-Mobile, initially it was 5.8 million current subscribers that were breached. Then the information for another 40 million former or potential customers leaked, they found out. And then still 5.3 million on postpaid. So that's a lot of data. And they got names, addresses, birth dates, phone numbers, IMEIs. So and there's even a possibility of some of the Social Security numbers and driver's license information. This is, again, these companies are working very hard to prevent this sort of thing from happening, but it does. And how does it, you might ask? Trust me, as working in IT, it is not the IT department. It is absolutely 110% not the problem of the company. As an IT professional, I can guarantee you that all the people in the IT departments in all these companies, that's their daily job. Not to sit around. You might think it is, or you might glimpse into one of their offices and they're throwing a football or something. I don't know. But make no mistake, their job is still their job. Their job is security. Your job is to teach a student. Your job is to sell a TV. Their job is to make sure that the room is secure of breaches. My company, for instance, the Wi-Fi in the building literally is dialed in so tightly and so well that it does not reach the end of the building. So if you're parking outside right next to the building, you can't get Wi-Fi. And that's a good thing because people would just sit out there and download shit all the time instead of being on their network or being on their meter connection on their device. So it actually works out. But the companies are constantly doing it. And T-Mobile has actually done a good thing with this once the breach happened. They've already closed the hole. They enhanced their security even more. And they contacted all their customers that were impacted and offered free ID theft protection services. Free. So I think that's good. Now, hypothetically, I think personally that what happened was I think it was a part of, because they're supposed to be closing the Sprint network part of their purchase or their acquisition of Sprint. They're supposed to be closing that part very soon, the LTE portion of that. I think something happened there. But back to what I was saying with the IT department, most of the time the problem is actually people, okay? That's the easiest. Ask any hacker. The easiest way to do it is social engineering, first and foremost. You call Betty Sue that's sitting in customer service. You plead your case. You know, you might have a good rap or something going, and you make them feel bad, and they'll hook you up and help you out. Shit, I've done it. I've gone out of the way and done something that might have been questionable to help a client out. We kind of do those things. But when you have these people, when I worked in the school department, teachers bring their laptops home all the time. Then they start using it for their shit at home. And then they let their little kid go on, Club Penguin with it. And it just creates more and more havoc. Or they bring their USB devices home with them. Their computers are all infected because they have no idea what to do with the computer. And they download the picture or the video or whatever they're going to show to their class the following day. They download it onto the USB. When they plug it into the network at the school, guess what? It's infected. I can't tell you how many times I have to go to individual schools and just look around, and end up unplugging a USB from somebody's computer because it was doing a talk back to a host server. So it's not the IT department. So don't sit there and go, T-Mobile's a piece of shit. You hear they all got hacked? Look, it happens every day, all day. I stopped doing it from the show because I have a list that tallies. I have a Facebook list of all the shit that Facebook does, and I also have a breaches list. And there is shit all over the country that's constantly getting breached. Anything from a service that deals with bottling companies, like for bottling soda and juice and shit, that 3 of their locations got hit and breached. Nobody talks about it because it's really unimportant. It was already closed. They got, some logistics shit. A situation like this is much worse. Names, addresses, birth dates, phone numbers. That's by far worse, but they're trying to take care of it. And this is going to continue to happen forever. It really is. There's always going to be somebody trying to find or circumvent another situation. So closing out the news this week, I thought we'd discuss a little something that surprisingly hasn't been here sooner. And I'm really surprised. So Amazon recently started talking, and according to Wall Street Journal, Amazon's going to be opening up some department stores. This might work. It might, maybe. They've piloted a bunch of other things. So they've had these little pop-up stores here and there. They've had kiosks in the middle of malls. They've had a lot of different things just to try. They tried the contactless store thing. Bookstores, and I think that it was a long term of just testing because none of them are kind of around anymore, and I think they kind of are on the ball. So, but now they're looking at doing something like the size of Kohl's or a TJ Maxx or a large department store, maybe not as big as a big box store, but they could absolutely do it. And what I foresee them doing, which I think is a brilliant business plan if they do it this way, and it'll work because they're essentially right now, Amazon is bigger than Walmart. They are the biggest retailer, and you're not surprised because neither am I. They're massive, and you can literally find anything at Amazon. So I think this is a brilliant idea. There's a lot of speculation and rumors right now. I think it's a good idea because they can sell their Amazon Basics products the front of the store with a few other things. I don't know if I do the whole laundry soap type thing, but it could work, like a little convenience store / Kohl's type place. But I think it's important that if they buy the big enough location, a lot of these locations, look at your strip malls around your area, they're closing. That's prime real estate. They can open up a front store and then in the back have a distribution center where they can store a lot of the common products and have them there. So that a lot of drivers can just be driving around in the same area, picking up stuff, dropping off stuff. I think it has potential to work a lot. I think it's also ironic that this is going on when Amazon's the reason why most malls closed. So, I don't know. Who knows? But it's interesting nonetheless. I think it is anyway. I think it's a lot of potential. Maybe open up some more jobs too for the local people. That's if they feel like going to fucking work. All right, let's get into this week's music, which is exciting. This week I have a Canadian trio formed in 1996, and they are still performing today. They just dropped an album, the beginning of this year, I believe. So they've been going strong forever. Good rock and roll. It's a band called Danko Jones, and this song is called Saturday. We're going to catch you on the other side For people that are watching the video stream, sorry. You can thank YouTube for not allowing me to play the song. God knows even if I have 4 listeners, as a person that was in the band, I say this every time, as a person that was in the band, I can tell you right now that I would love to have anybody rebroadcast my music. Absolutely. 110%. But this is Danko Jones Saturday. We'll catch you on the other side for Stick Style. If you're listening on your drive to then you're going to hear the song. But if you're a video subscriber, you're going to have to go listen to the song or look it up. I apologize for the inconvenience. All right, let's get into this week's music. That was Danko Jones Saturday. Good rock and roll right there. Let's get into this week's Stick Style news, because I kind of am excited to talk about what I read recently, because I think it's a good little it's a good flavor.
Gaming.
First and foremost in this week's Stick Style news, we're going to look at the GPU update, and guess what? You're still not getting one. Yeah, it's difficult now at this point. Like I said, week to week, you can go on. If you're that desperate to get one, your computer build is sitting right next to you, and you just need a GPU, maybe save up and spend a little bit. I personally would not spend double. I would spend like $300 the most above MSRP. But I've seen, I would love to get my hands on a 6800 XT Red Devil card. Love to get that one. I've seen them on eBay for like $2,100. There's no way that you should be spending more than $1,000 for that card, in my opinion. Maybe $1,100, but you shouldn't. And you're seeing a lot of cards, even the 1660s and the lower grade cards, even cards that are like a year or two old, 2080 Ti's, the 20 series cards. You're seeing them at just ridiculous prices. So again, like I said before, your best bet right now is to probably buy a pre-built computer, like from an Alienware or an Origin PC or one of the major makers, because they have access to the cards, at least somewhat. Some of them are talking 6-week lead time, and other ones you can get it right away and just have it delivered. I think that's a good idea. I don't disagree with that at all. NVIDIA even came out recently again and stated that it's not going to look good till the end of 2022. I'm going to go ahead and predict right now that there's going to become an abundance of them. I shouldn't say an abundance. There's going to become more available than currently as we get closer to Christmas, because I can't see them not ramping up and holding back a bunch of their SKUs for the holidays. It's a missed mistake, really, to be doing that. You should be getting, I would say, look, if I was running certain things, if I was in charge, what I would do is I would take the distribution and pull back. So let's say that I get, my distribution chain gets, I don't know, 500, let's be bigger than that. Let's say 5,000 cards in one of the shipments. I would immediately take 1,000 or 1,500 of those cards and put those off to the side. I would send the rest of those over to the major manufacturers, the Dells, the iBuyPowers, CyberPowers, Origin. I would give those to that distribution chain. Even if they don't get as many as they want, they're still getting some. And then I would keep the other, 1,500 or so for the holidays. And I would just keep doing that for the next several deliveries and just put them off to the side. And then when the holidays kick in, like maybe the end of November, literally the end of November and the month of December, I would drop all these cards so that people will have the ability to go into a store and possibly pick one up on the floor. I wouldn't announce it. I wouldn't, if I was like Best Buy or Target or Walmart, I wouldn't be sitting there going, Thursday, get your 3080 card. Don't do that shit. You're going to have mass hysteria and your employees are going to absolutely hate you. It's already Christmas time. Don't make it worse for us. What I do think is hilarious is, I shouldn't say hilarious, is that even with the prices and everything, man, you gotta want Intel to succeed. So even though people are going towards AMD, myself included, for now, there's a lot going on with Intel. Intel's been around for a long time. We've always thought about the Intel processor. That was the only game in town for a lot of situations, and it was really good. But Intel isn't cutting it, Okay, when it comes to chip sizes, like the Intel processors, the i3, i7, i5, they need to get it down to a lower nanometer, smaller chip, less power. Intel apparently can't figure that out. You have Samsung, or is it Qualcomm? I think it's Qualcomm, is down to like a 3 nanometer chip. Apple's down to a 3 nanometer chip, and they just jumped into the friggin' market. Like, they just got into the market, and they're already at like a 3, 4, and I would assume 2 nanometer testing right now. So Intel's really had it hard, taking it on the chin in a lot of ways. But apparently they got our back. Intel's Arc Gaming is going to be a discrete GPU. So yeah, just like a 3070s card. If you're watching on the YouTube stream, you're going to see the picture of it right here. It's not a bad looking card. It's a good looking card. I'm a fan of blue, the color blue. So I like the way it looks. But it is basically another video card on the market, another GPU. So you'll have your choice. Let's say 2025. You'll have your choice between an AMD card, an NVIDIA card, and an Intel card. And I think that's kind of exciting. I'd like to see more people in the market. You know, the more people you have in the market, the more competition there is, the better product you'll get. This card is going to have ray tracing. Their XS technology, which is XESS technology, will allow upscaling from 1080p to 4K. And if you research this or click on the link in the show notes, you'll see that it actually looks really good. They even did a 480p upscaling to 4K, and it still looked really, really good. So I'm kind of excited. It's tough to tell if it'll be fast because there's no other really information on it. If you remember the meme, will it run Crysis? And if you don't, Crysis is a game that's been around for years. And the whole big, I would say, claim to fame, it's a decent game. But the claim to fame was their ultra settings would break people's computers. Like, there was very few computers when the game first came out that could play it on ultra. It wasn't like today where people are building out computers that are relatively inexpensive and then dropping in a very expensive video card into it. These were, like, if you were running Crysis on ultra, you had a high-end, probably dual card computer rig that ran you 10 grand, and that's how you're getting it on ultra settings. So the meme of will it run Crysis became such a meme that the latest Crysis game actually has a setting in it, will it run Crysis, which is everything is jacked up as far as it can go to see if you can handle it. And it's still tough for your computer. I dare you, go try it. Go grab Crysis, put it on ultra, and just give a listen to your computer as it ramps up. You know, it's really gonna push it. In fact, that's what Intel demoed when they showed off this card, which I thought was really impressive. They demoed Crysis when they showed off this card during their announcement. This is really all we know at this point, though. Rumor is that it's going to be at the end of the first quarter in 22. I don't know, because I can only assume that they're going to have the same silicon constraints as everyone else, and not to mention their own internal in-house type stuff and problems that they go through. You know, we'll get more information about that GPU availability the closer to Christmas, I feel. But when you finally get a new card, you can bet that you'll have a new Skyrim to play. That's right. That 2011 monster is still around and kicking. Elder Scrolls Skyrim has its 10th anniversary edition. It'll be available in November 11th of this year. That game was out in 2011, and people are still playing it, and they're still selling it, and they're still hanging their hats on it. It's available for all. The 10th anniversary edition is going to be available for all consoles except the Switch. You'll get the full game plus 3 expansion packs, which is Dawnguard, Hearthfire, and Dragonborn. You'll get all of them. There's Creation Club content as well as the fishing mechanic, which I don't play the game, so I don't know if that's an important thing, but they made a big deal out of it in the article, is that it was a fishing mechanic. If you have the special edition right now, then you can upgrade to the anniversary edition when it comes out free of charge. Unknown right now is if there'll be better graphics, but it should sound better because they're revamping everything. They haven't really said on how well they're going to adjust the graphics, and I can't see how they're going to have a problem with that. It's a 10th anniversary one. Look what they did with Mass Effect. But at the same token, hopefully they've been working on it for a while, because Mass Effect, they were working on that video upgrade for a while. So I'm hoping that they've been doing this for Skyrim. But the sounds and audio and stuff, they fixed all those so that sounds better. And you're going to need some headphones to listen to all that, aren't you? Well, you come to the right show because I am a headphone junkie, unfortunately, in some ways. There's a lot of things that I really like, and Fremo gets on me about it all the time. Microphones, headphones, and controllers are something I just can't seem to get away from. You know, you can give me the shittiest Dell keyboard, I'll be happy. But if you give me a crappy controller for a console, I'm going to be upset. You know, it's the same thing with headphones. I put on headphones that people wanted me to listen to stuff, and even, 30 seconds of a song, and I'm already annoyed because they just sound awful, or they feel awful, or they're plasticky. I remember I got my kids. There was a special that I saw somewhere online, and I bought like 4 pairs of headphones for all the kids. And I remember listening to it, and I'm like, is this just your headphones? And my son's like, I don't know. So I grabbed his sister's headphones, put those on. I'm like, oh my God, these literally sound awful. Like, I don't know. I mean, I let them have them. They all broke. They broke within like a week. All of them. It was awful. So I like headphones a lot, and I test a lot. We talk about it on BGFG. I also talk about it on Stick Style because people usually ask me my daily drivers up until literally a week ago were old Sony 500s, big pillow ear cups. But the ear cups are getting so degraded, and it's so hard to get replacement ones now that I want to move into something else. I've been using the Virtuoso, Corsair Virtuosos. I like them. But when it comes to Xbox or straight up streaming, I like for the PlayStation, I have the SteelSeries, which I really like. I think SteelSeries are a great gaming headset. They are super comfortable, easy, replaceable pieces, which I always feel is important. A few months back, we talked about the Xbox wireless headset, the new one, which I have for the Xbox Series X downstairs for Stick Style. And those headphones are great. I have really no complaints about them at all. They sound great. They lock into the Xbox. They turn on the Xbox. It's just, they're well done. The only negative I would give about them is that they do get hot. They get very hot in the ear cups after a little bit of use. Well, Microsoft has now released a new pair. So like the original wireless pair, or the newer wireless pair, you have on the side of your cups, on the side of the cans, you have a giant wheel. It's like the whole size of the can. Very handy. One side does your voice to game mixture, and the other one does volume. Very simple to use. Super easy. And they are Bluetooth. So they not only connect to your Xbox, but they also connect to your phone if you have it nearby, so you can listen to music in your headphones at the same time as playing your game. Really cool. And I've actually wired it into the Stick Style computer. We'll get into that some other time, but I've actually wired it in so that the Bluetooth works for both my Xbox and for the PC at the same time. While I'm gaming, I can do everything on the computer that I need to do to broadcast. Those were $100. I think that is a steal. If you don't want to go with the SteelSeries, or you don't want to pay $200, $250 for a pair of headphones, which I completely respect, these are phenomenal headphones. They are really good Bluetooth headphones. Now, they're releasing, for $60, they're releasing a wired version. So, a while ago, I would say maybe a year or two ago, I did a review of the Xbox stereo headset, which were full cans, really big, super comfortable, light, airy. You didn't get really sweaty in them. Microphone was good enough. And all of these... that one was $60 as well, and I used to tell people all the time, it's the best bang for the buck you can get for basic stuff. It still does surround sound. Now, this new version is going to be also out. The Xbox wired headset, or Xbox stereo headset, is new. It's also $60, so they've revamped it. It's really good. The wireless version, I can tell you, is excellent. I can't see how the wired version is not going to be less than anything but slightly better. And while I talk about the Xbox, let me add that using Xcloud for the past few months, which we touched upon on a show, I've been using Xcloud. But I asked, and I finally got the answer to why the Xcloud is on Android. You know, you can play it natively on Android. It has an app, but you can't do that on iOS, which is an unbelievable bummer, because the people that have iPads, you can open that up, tilt it back a little bit, connect the controller, because all the Xbox controllers will connect to it via Bluetooth, and you can play your game right there on a little tiny screen wherever you're at. It's really nice feature. But there's no app. You have to do this through the website, which is annoying. Now, on an Apple device, if you don't have one, it's actually quite easy to make a website into a icon on your desktop. And the way Microsoft does it is they put it right there on the home page that you can click on that link, and once you click on the link, it'll make a shortcut on your desktop or on your phone menu screen of the Xbox launcher. It works well. Look, it's still in beta, and it should be in beta because it's got a few wrinkles to put out. On most cellular services, it works great. On Wi-Fi, you need a strong Wi-Fi for it to connect, but it still works. Now, I was always wondering why it's not an app on any of the Apple devices. The way it was explained by Phil Schiller is actually quite simple. Apple requires all game streaming services to submit every game individually. So if you're the guys that make Temple Run, you can't put up a Temple Run app that has all the Temple Run games in it. Because what Apple wants to do, and you got to see their point on this first. What Apple wants to do is Apple wants you to put each individual game up there. You can connect them all to a bundle, but each individual game has to be up there because what they're going to do is they're going to protect the end user, as Apple always tries to do. This is so that they can organize the games for their system for the end user. They're going to do game rankings. They're going to do age ratings. They're going to do parental controls. All of that stuff needs to be broken out of that all-encompassing app. So Xbox has hundreds and hundreds of games that they're putting out on the Xcloud. It's not economical. It's not practical to take all those games and put those individually on the Apple Store. It's not. So Microsoft figured out a way, and Apple couldn't deny them that it is actually a website. So you can go to the website, and it actually downloads the games fully. It works really well. But again, it's in beta, and there's little wrinkles they need to put out. My question to my listeners is this. Why doesn't Netflix have to put up all their movies? Why? They're individual movies. We need to make sure that they're safe from the ratings, especially movies more than video games, in my opinion. I don't want my kids watching a horror movie. I don't want my 13-year-old watching a horror movie that's a strong R. I don't want that happening. I don't want them to watch. I don't want the younger ones to watch, or my nieces and nephews here to watch anything with nudity in it. It's going to be damn hard to do that when you're in Netflix, unless you have your account in Netflix like that. Why couldn't we do that the same thing with Xbox? I just don't see it. I don't know. I'd like to see an app, but for now, it is what it is. I just think Apple's going to look at themselves and ask themselves the same question. I think that the reason why that they're doing this to Xbox and they're not doing it to somebody like Netflix is because they basically want to protect their Apple Arcade, which is mediocre at best. There's out of all the games they offer, which many of them are bullshit games, like just barely working, ad-strewn bullshit games. There's not a lot that you want to play consistently on there. There's just not. All right, let's get into the last segment of the day because I think it's going to be the funniest out of all of them. In a surprising twist, one of the main topics outside of the world issues is OnlyFans. So if you don't know, OnlyFans is pretty much a site that on the outside, what it is you can be a artist like a Cardi B that has an OnlyFans site that you pay to get into, and you pay for, kind of like Patreon, that you pay for that will be just for really hardcore fans. Like, let's make believe, because I don't know enough about Cardi B to speak on it, but let's say you're into Metallica. Metallica could have an OnlyFans, and on that OnlyFans site, you can have direct access. When they're in the studio, they turn on the camera link, and the camera's on for OnlyFans, all sorts of things like that. But, like a lot of things on the internet, it immediately took a hard left, pun intended, to go for strict porn, literally pornography. Gee, you didn't see that coming. So now, OnlyFans has said that they'll be removing their adult content for their site. According to their CEO, it's the fault of the credit card companies, specifically Visa and MasterCard. they're going to pull access for pay and credit services if they don't change some of the things that go on. Basically pull the pornography. Are you kidding me? All right, so first of all, pulling the pornography on it. What do you think people have been paying for porn sites, using their Visa and MasterCard for the past 20 friggin' years? Now you're going to tell me suddenly that I can't pay for porn? Guess what? We have been paying for porn like this. And now you're going to shut down OnlyFans because of it? I think that's bullshit. This is all supposed to happen by the end of September. And already most are moving to a new site that somebody built. And again, brilliant business right there. You see something failing, you start something up for them to go to. It's going to be sexworker.com. Which really seems like a better fit, though you're really going to be hard pressed to hide that from your significant other. You know, it's easy to OnlyFans. What's OnlyFans, honey? Oh, I subscribe to a couple of the guys from the football teams. They have like private channels and shit. Yeah, OnlyFans. Now, when you tell your wife, yeah, I subscribe to sexworker.com, I don't think that's going to go over as well. It does seem like a better fit, but it is what it is. One of the OnlyFans clients posted on their Twitter account, great, now I guess I have to go back to fucking your husbands for money. I thought that was absolutely great. Now, again, as we talked about before, the clickbait is abundantly everywhere with this OnlyFans thing. What it actually is, for all of my sheeple, and this is where you can educate all the people and your coworkers and shit. What it is according to their policies, basically what they're doing is going to be pulling pornography. They're going to be pulling sex, sex videos, like full-on sex videos. They're going to be pulling those. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. What you will be able to do is you're going to be able to show nudity. Okay? So nudity, again, this is going to work. One of two things. So if the company, if OnlyFans, here's my prediction, if OnlyFans has done properly as a business, not just as a porn site, but as a business, then they should have a decent mix, not a horrible mix, but a decent mix of pornography and legitimate people. Because there is artists and chefs and things like that have OnlyFans accounts and celebrities. But there is that underbelly, just like there is with anything else. Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, there's always an underbelly. Their underbelly, hopefully, is not massive enough that when this does happen, which it's going to, and the pornography stuff leaves, if they're still around by like January, February of next year, then everything's going to be fine. But if that porn industry is sustaining their business, then there's going to be an actual issue, which is tough. It's tough to see because you don't want a business to fail over something kind of stupid. But you did let it go to pornography. But they're going to, and if you read into it, they're going to stop the pornography, but they're going to allow nudity. So the girls and guys that are out there posing their bodies or nudes, basically, it's still going to be there for you. And this is, I think, a good thing. And here's why. Because when I go to Twitch, which we're broadcasting on now, I do like Twitch. I think it has an excellent place. I think Mixer was better personally, but Twitch has got its place. Now, when you go to Twitch, there's a lot of times that you're not watching games. There's podcasts and stuff, which is good, but then you have these weird things like, the people that are licking ears on ASMR, or you have, well, now you're going to have a place to put those. So I think Twitch is going to actually benefit from this. Twitch can go back to what it once was, and when people realize that in OnlyFans, that's what OnlyFans is. It's an after dark Twitch, is essentially what it is. You're going to be able to go on there, and you're going to be able to do whatever the weird shit that you do in your pool, or wearing almost less than nothing, or when you get 15 subscribers, you'll do jumping jacks. Do you really think people care that you're getting healthy? No, they want to watch you bounce up and down, idiot. Stupid people. But it's kind of a cool thing, because I think if people read into this, and I think if everything simmers down a little bit, you're still going to be, if you're on OnlyFans, you're still going to be able to get the nudity portion of it, but it's also going to open it up for other professionals and celebrities and such to go on there and feel safer to go on there. When you have somebody like, I'm throwing this name out there, Hugh Jackman, not that he would ever do that, or he's on there, I don't know. But let's say he turns to his publicist and goes, hey, should I get an OnlyFans? Somebody told me I should get an OnlyFans. And the publicist is going to turn around and go, no, you certainly do not. That thing is like Porn City. It's going to be different 6 months from now if, that nudity is still going to be there, but it's quieter. And what you're going to have is a lot more celebrities that are on there. OnlyFans is a great great brand, I think. It's a lot better than, sex worker. And of course, lastly, you can't deny the Onion. Oh my gosh, I missed all sorts of pictures on this thing. See, that's what happens when I start doing the video. So for people that are watching the video, I am really sorry about that. Here's a picture of the Skyrim 10 logo. Here's a picture of the new Xbox headset wired. Looks just like the other one. Here's a picture of Xcloud. And finally, here's a picture of OnlyFans, which is the OnlyFans logo. Damn it. I am awful. This is what happens when Freemo's not around. Anyway, last thing I want to say was, because you got to love the Onion, and the Onion put up a post. OnlyFans CEO admits decision to ban pornography was made after shame-filled orgasm. Oh, that cracks me up. That is good shit right there. All right. That's pretty much going to be it for this week. I'm going to go batten down the hatches, tape up some windows, because I'm apparently going to get a hurricane. Yeah. Live through a bunch of them. Can live through a bunch more. That's it for this week. Tense down. Show's over.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.